Hey fam, it's the Better Man podcast. We are helping men win. Speaking of winning, I want to talk about our two partners, our two sponsors that help make this show go. One is Aroga Drive. When I'm looking for day in and day out energy to keep this motor going, Aroga Drive is the one. Check them out at arogadrive.com/BetterMan. It's in the show notes. And then also our guys at Art of Homage, engaging culture in a winsome, and I'm going to tell you, a strong vibe.
It's not an obligation for me to lead my family. It's a privilege and an honor for me to do so. And when I come at it from that perspective, I'm greater. And I just wake up with so much zeal because I'm saying, all right, here's another day that I get the opportunity to honor my wife and to raise my children in a way that will honor God.
Fam, welcome to the Better Man podcast. As always, I'm here with my guy, Delario. D, what up, baby?
What's happening? What's happening? Glad to be back, man. Good to see you, Harp.
Come on, dude. What's one good thing?
Oh, man.
Share with the people, man.
Just one, man.
Because you the favorite.
I don't know if I'm the favorite.
You the favorite, bro.
But I tell you what, I'm in here. We're here. Man, just one good thing. Just in the throes of fatherhood, you know what I'm saying?
Come on.
Husbandry. And, I've got a 9th grade son who's playing football at Grace Prep right now. So just getting to spend a lot of time, a lot of quality time with him. He's 14 years old, trying to help him prepare for what the next phase of life looks like as a man. And so, man, I'm just excited that I get the chance to do that and spend this type of intentional time with him.
You know, there's so many life metaphors and allegories in football.
Oh, yeah.
Like the linebacker coming, one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be ready.
And you better be ready. Because if not, you get knocked down.
Yeah.
Come on.
And the question is, what are you going to do next?
Hey,
That's right.
What are you going to do next?
Yeah.
What did Tyson say? Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the
Till
mouth.
I get hit in the lip.
That's it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Come on, Tyson. If you're watching, man, I hope you knock Jake Paul out.
When is the fight?
It's coming up. A few months. It's
Yeah.
back on.
Was it postponed?
Yeah.
It was supposed to be June of this summer here in DFW, I thought.
Okay.
Yeah. Tyson had some sort of internal intestinal bleed, and Jake Paul said he had a stomach ache. I hope listen, you don't mess with a line. You hear me?
That's right.
You play around too much. It happened. Ask Siegfried and Roy, bro. You on stage with a bunch of lines. Eventually, a line gonna do what a line does.
Yeah, that's bite. That's right. And that's what Mike Tyson gonna do with Jake Paul, man.
Man, I'm so hyped about today's show. We have one of our favorite guests back in studios with us, Dr. Isaac Collins,
Let's
the
go.
marriage expert, the husband. He's like a husband wizard. I love
On steroids, now that boy swole, man. Can y'all see that?
Man, Isaac, so glad to have you back on the show, man.
Glad to be here.
Tell us something good, man, that's been going on in life.
I'm still a husband
Come on.
and a father.
Yeah.
You know, and whenever I get a chance to wake up next to my queen, step outside my room and see my children, it's a good day. It's a good day.
Man, I hope y'all listening are adopting some of that language.
Yeah.
My man said my queen.
Absolutely.
You want to get in good with your bride, start calling her queen. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love
Don't
that.
demand that she call you a king back because you know who you are.
Just let it come.
Yeah.
I mean, Sarah
Call
called
her
Abraham.
queen long enough, she gonna call you king.
Sarah called Abraham Lord. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not going that far.
That's
I'll
real.
take king.
That's
now.
real. That's
Right?
real.
It's calling
So
me
good.
prince because I'm a long way off from Lord.
Man, everybody, we talk about a lot our 4 definitions of what it means to be a man, really a man in the 21st century today. One of the distinctives about Better Man is we're not afraid to say that we have the answer. Where so many other entities and organizations kind of dance around what it means to be a man, we don't believe it's fluid. We believe God's word, his timeless word, tells us exactly what it means to be a good man, God's man. And we call them the 4 W's. A good man, God's man, courageously follows God's word, excels at the work God gives him, betters God's world, and that other W is what we're talking about today. Mm-hmm. A good man, God's man, really loves and serves and protects God's woman. He honors God's woman. We want to talk today about being a better husband, And I can't think of a better guest to do that with than our guy.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy who runs a counseling service with his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
Collins and Collins Counseling.
Come
So
on.
just tell us a little bit about the day-to-day,
King
man,
and
how
Queen,
that
King
is.
and Queen counseling.
Right,
Yes.
right. Tell us a little bit about the day-to-day of working with your wife, not just being married to her,
Yeah.
but, doing your work together, your vocation.
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, marriage, you got to work in it and on it. And whenever I get the opportunity to work alongside with my wife, it's a beautiful day. I mean, we see individual clients as well, but also couples together. And I tell my wife, I said, whenever we're meeting with couples together, I'm at my best.
Come on.
Because my best is sitting right next to me, right? So the words, and she keeps me true. She keeps me honest when we're counseling, right? Because if she's sitting right next to me, it's a reflection of what it means to really walk this out. That this is just not experience not just counseling tools and strategies that we're giving couples that we're meeting with, but it's also just the experience of being a husband myself. So a lot of that shows up in our practice as well.
Come on. I heard my mentor told me one time that your marriage will either be the greatest hindrance to your ministry or the greatest fuel for your ministry.
Absolutely.
And it's really what you just said. He said, I'm at my best when I'm with my best. Mm-hmm. And I even think about times in my life when I really felt like I was in that groove, I was in the zone, I was hitting a lick for King Jesus, taking ground. Well, it was when I was best loving and serving my wife.
Yeah.
And then it's no coincidence when my ministry and my life has been super dry, it's because my relationship with her has been dry. Yeah. We really did become one when we got married.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And that's so interesting, man. For me, like, we've all been given a purpose.
Yeah.
But in marriage, like, the desire to provide, to take care of, to protect, to keep a home, man, I don't believe you can have that outside of marriage. Mm-mm. But when you have a responsibility to honor, to love, to provide, to protect for someone, bro, that takes it to a whole nother level.
Absolutely. And I think also what's important is the responsibility could be heavy, but at the same time, it's the privilege and the honor that you get to do it.
Come on.
That God has graced us as husbands to be able to do this for our families and to lead them in such a way. So I see it as a privilege and an honor, not so much a responsibility, because when you see that word responsibility could be attached to obligation, right? And it's not an obligation for me to lead my family. It's a privilege and an honor for me to do so.
Yeah.
And when I come at it from that perspective, I'm greater. And I just wake up with so much zeal because I'm saying, all right, here's another day that I get the opportunity to honor my wife and to raise my children in a way that will honor God, and leave a legacy of what we're trying to transpire here on earth. So it's a privilege.
Yeah, he says that good weight.
Yeah.
That's when you finish that last set and you rack that weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
It ain't heavy. It's that good weight.
That's right. Last set, best set.
Hey, them shoulders don't grow without no pressure.
That's right.
Let's go. So tell us some ways, man. Help us understand what it looks like or the practicality of being a good husband.
Oh, man, that's a great question. And I think to be a good husband or a better husband, you need three things. You need to ask the Lord for wisdom. You need to ask the Lord for understanding. You need to ask God for long suffering.
Come on.
And I'll go back, I'll break them down, right? For wisdom, I think it's 1 Kings chapter 3 when God asked Solomon, what is it that you want? And Solomon said, wisdom to be able to govern your people. And I look at that scripture and I think about the same aspect. Lord, give me wisdom to govern the household, the family that you've assigned me to, the garden that you assigned me to. Help me to be able to govern my house in a godly way. So I need wisdom, right? And then the second thing is understanding. What is it? 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7, I believe, says to live with your wife in an understanding way.
Yeah.
In an understanding way. What does it mean to be understanding to your wife, right? And to live that way. I think it's creating space for emotional security and safety.
Right.
right?
But
So
hey,
when
there's
you-
something attached to that too.
Tell me about it.
So your prayers,
Oh, absolutely.
right,
Oh, yeah,
are
yeah.
not hindered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's very intriguing to me, right, to know that your prayers could be hindered based on how you treat your wife.
Come on.
That's how God values, how much God values his daughter. And we have a responsibility and a privilege, as I stated earlier, to be able to honor them in such a way so our prayers won't be hindered.
Yeah, a lot of guys out there asking, man, why isn't God responding to me? Why isn't God listening to me? Well, why are you treating his daughter like that? You're lucky God ain't smiting you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like the best thing right now is he could be ignoring you.
That's right.
Because you're not doing right by his daughter, man. That's so good,
Yeah.
bro.
And then long suffering as well, because all of us, we've been married for some time, and you know that it's not a walk in the park each and every day, right? I would love to say that that's the case, but that's not. And so the long suffering piece is to be able to stand next to your wife, even as you're going through certain things in life, whatever life throws your way, right? There's long suffering attached to that, to be able to say, you know what, I'm committed to this. I vowed to stay with you regardless of what comes, our adversity that comes our way. So I'm gonna be that husband that you need,
Yeah.
and cover you that way.
So why do you think, and I know we can have this conversation, man, guys are always talking about how hard marriage is or how, complaining about their wives. Why is long suffering? Why does that seem to be the hardest part of marriage when it comes to men?
I think because men, again, always look for the exit sign, as I talked about before, right? That contract piece, and looking for that way out. And so it's difficult to endure something that causes you pain in that particular season or space, right? And I always ask myself, what's shaping me? Is it the potter or is it the pain? And I put that in perspective as far as my marriage is concerned. God is shaping me to be the best husband and best father that I can be. So sometimes he uses pain to bring out purpose, right? So I'm looking for the purpose in the midst of the pain, which causes me to have long suffering and to stay longer than most men, because I'm enduring what it is that God is perfecting through me. And that's why long suffering is important in marriage.
Yeah.
Man, he said, what's shaping me, the potter or the pain? I love that. What I love about being with Isaac is we get about 15 T-shirt ideas when we're done, bro. That long suffering piece. Think about the first 2 points he made. You need wisdom and you need understanding. And I love how you delineated between those 2 things, wisdom and understanding. You need wisdom. And Solomon, when he asked for that, the Hebrew translates to, Lord, give me a listening heart.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Where does wisdom come from? It comes from listening.
And what does your wife want you to do?
Listen, right?
Absolutely. Listen.
And then to the understanding, right? That verse, to know her. Well, you can't understand her. You can't be understood. You can't know her unless you're not willing to listen. So I think so often, at least I'll speak for myself, a lot of my long suffering, a lot of my grief, a lot of my hardship in my marriage comes from me failing to be attuned to my wife's needs.
Absolutely.
Failing to be attuned to her wants, her desires. And what does that come down to? It comes down to selfishness. I mean, why is a dude going to leave a marriage? Because he's selfish.
Right.
Yeah.
He's selfish.
Right.
Well, I don't know any other way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
So how do we push back against that? Like what are some practical things, thoughts, steps we can do if we're sitting in the middle of whether it's a good marriage, whether it's an okay marriage, whether it's a marriage about to fall apart? How do we grow as better husbands?
So I think accessibility, availability, and accountability
Okay.
helps us to grow as better husbands, right? Proximity doesn't associate with how available or accessible you are. Because we live in the same house, I can still be absent even though I'm presently physically there.
Come on.
Right? So the accessibility, does my wife have access to me 24/7?
Yeah.
Right? Am I available emotionally to meet the needs that she might have? And then am I accountable to her and to our covenant relationship as husband? So I think those 3 things helps us to remain committed and stay focused on the marriage itself and not run away from it. How accessible are you? How available are you? And how accountable are you in your marriage?
So I think those are all three great things. But how do you answer that question or deal with that with men who just have no clue? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many men out there who just don't know. They're completely ignorant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it starts with discipleship, right? For those men who are ignorant, we have to get around those who understand,
Come on.
right? And so that's why community is so big for men as well. And we isolate as men, right? We become lone rangers. And to be honest, that's the quickest way for the enemy to pick us off when we don't run in a pack,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And so when you surround yourself with brothers like you two, right? I feel better just being here. I mean, even the word tells us, right? When 2 or 3 are gathered,
Yeah.
right, that he's in the midst. So the Lord is present even now, as we speak. So to answer your question directly or specifically is to work on the discipleship piece and find community, another group of men that can hold you accountable and show you what it means to be available and accessible.
Yeah.
Because once you start showing up for yourself in that way, it makes it easier for you to then show up for your wife that way.
Yeah.
That's so good. And I run into guys all the time who don't know how to be good husbands, and tell them the same thing, like surround yourself with good husbands. Well, I don't know any. Well, bro, you either looking in the wrong places or you staying in the wrong places, right?
Absolutely.
Like go to church. You'll find some good husbands in your church.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can't, find a new church.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I think about places like some of my best friends in the world, my brother, I met at my kid's school.
Right.
That's a great place
Yeah.
to find some strong husbands, some good men, right? Look at your kid's school. You're probably not going to find it at the club.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably a guarantee.
Yeah. You're probably not going to find it, and we can go down this list, but we don't have to belabor this like they know. If you're not finding good husbands to surround yourself with, then you're looking in all the wrong places.
Absolutely.
But you've got to have that, you have to be able to aspire to something.
Yeah.
Right? And I just don't think a lot of younger men, a lot of younger husbands have anything to aspire to right now, right?
I think a lot of them don't have anything to aspire to, Harp, because they haven't seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can name the number of good husbands that I knew growing up,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
But not having a dad around as I was growing up, not seeing a whole bunch of successful marriages, for me, it made me want that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what I did was, as I got older, I sought that out.
Yeah.
Everybody just didn't do that.
And I think also, too, what's important to keep in mind is relevance. How relevant is the husband today? Because we're portrayed in culture's eyes as irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Not even necessary.
Absolutely.
They don't
not
even need
needed.
us to have kids anymore.
Absolutely. Right? So the relevance piece, and then how relatable are you?
Yeah.
Because for me, my father was in and out as well. But I got into a church who had a lot of great men in the church. And so I, from afar, sat back and watched how these men carried themselves and how they worshiped the Lord. That's what really drew me in, was their unashamed nature to worship the King. And when I sat back from afar and I saw how this man would cry in worship, would lift his hands and really give God praise, that drew me near, because I'm like, that's totally opposite from what culture says, right? That men don't cry, that they got to be, stoic and strong and things of that nature that we talked about last time. So when I seen the vulnerability of a man up close, that pulled me closer. Yeah. So I think it goes back to relevance and how relatable are you?
Yeah, that's so good. And we've got to push back against this lie. I mean, there's tons of research coming out right now. There's a lot of kind of soft feminism coming out right now, basically how men are not needed.
Right.
We talk about all the time. In the 1970s, it was, I don't need a man. In the 1990s, it was, I don't want a man. And here we are in 2024, what is a man?
Right.
But the reality is that I don't need a man kind of movement is coming back.
Right.
Right. And whether it be medical advancement, technology, science, I think personally it goes back to individualism and selfishness.
Absolutely.
Right? I don't want to give my life to someone else. So I can have a partner for sex. I can, artificially inseminate to get pregnant. I can have all these things. I can have all the benefits of marriage without any of the hard work of marriage.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's why, I don't know if our listeners know this, but for the first time in the history of histories, this is science, statistics. For the first time in the history of histories, there are more people cohabitating today than are married. Mm-hmm. Right? Again, all the benefits of marriage, right? It's like a temporary tattoo. Yeah. Every one of us are tatted up here. Mm-hmm. We would say temporary tattoos are silly. Why? Because what's a temporary tattoo? It's you want the appearance of a tattoo without any of the pain.
That's right. That's right.
Without any of the hard work. That's why temporary tattoos aren't cool, bro. That's why you get them on spring break when you're 17. Stop with all that. Right? We got to move on beyond that.
Yeah.
Right? And there's so many men today, I think, they want the appearance of commitment without any of the hard work, man. Absolutely. And it's the culture and the relevance that we're living in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think for women too, Hart, we talk about this often, especially when we're training and teaching guys about BetterMan. There's so many women that are on a higher level educationally.
Yes.
So now they're making their own money.
Yeah.
So to a degree, what do I need the baggage of a guy for, if he can't even provide for me?
That's right.
Then the social media / technology era, it's the same thing, right? Yeah. It is the perception of intimacy or friendship because you got 1,000 people following you, but you don't have any real friends.
That's right.
And so these folks are looking through, this glass mirror as if they have a friend and they don't.
Right.
It's just likes and scrolling. There's nothing deep in that.
Yeah, D, and let's not bypass that too, that whole provision part.
Yeah.
God's design from the very beginning was that man work and provide. And some people even get into, and we've had this problem, they get into the BetterMan curriculum and they get to that loving and providing for God's woman section, and we get pushback on that sometimes, right? But I think T.D. Jakes was right. T.D. Jakes says, any man got to ask his wife for lunch money, lose a little bit of his self-esteem.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. There's and that's not to say women can't work or shouldn't work. There have been seasons in my life, I was a church planner. My wife was a sign language interpreter. She was making twice what I was making. Praise be to God, man. Praise be to God. But ultimately, I was still responsible for providing for my home, right? And that's another thing culture has done. They've kind of erased this idea that a man's responsibility and not obligation.
Right.
Isaac, I love that, bro. I'm going to be using that forever.
Absolutely.
Not obligation, but privilege. It's a man's privilege to provide for his own. And a lot of men aren't seeing it like that today.
That's right.
They're seeing it as a heavy weight. And to the extent where they're letting their women carry the water in that.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a problem.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's the reason why when God came back in the garden, Genesis chapter 3, after the fall, the question was, Adam, where are you?
Yeah.
Right? He didn't ask where Eve was. Because I think as a husband, right, we have these 3 C's, I say, right? There's for a man is correction, coaching, and comfort. As a husband, as a good husband or a better husband, we need to be able to provide all 3 of those things.
Come on.
Right? And so when you are providing correction, Adam missed an opportunity to correct Eve in the garden. He was right there beside her when she ate the fruit.
Yeah, he was.
He missed that opportunity to provide correction.
He had a snake whispering in his wife's ear, boy.
Right there next to him.
Yeah.
And he missed
Didn't do anything about it.
Absolutely. Right? And then that second one, the comforting piece. I think Abraham missed an opportunity to provide comfort to Sarah when she couldn't get pregnant.
Come on.
Right? He had an opportunity to help coach her through that or provide comfort through that. And then the third C for coaching, Joseph missed the opportunity to provide a coaching experience to his wife, Mary, when she was supernaturally pregnant with Jesus.
Come on.
That was a tough one, though.
You know, it was a tough one. It was.
I feel you,
pregnant
Joe.
by who?
Right. It ain't mine.
Right.
But those 3 things, those 3 C's, right? How do we correct, or when do we correct? When do we coach and when do we comfort?
Come on. Yeah.
As husbands.
And all of that is, and I love alliteration, so I'm gonna add a C.
Please.
You got to have the courage to step in. Because what did those three individuals you just mentioned lack? Man, they lacked courage. They lacked conviction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And because Adam was passive, man, literally the whole world fell apart.
Absolutely.
Because Abraham became selfish and slept with his wife's, basically helper, maid, whatever you want to call it, brought on a concubine.
Yep.
That whole thing. I mean, it wasn't nothing but jealousy and people being banished, and
Absolutely.
I mean, it fell apart.
Right.
And then Joseph, whatever it was with Joseph, I mean, couldn't show his face, so he's holed up in a cave, having the God incarnate.
Right.
I mean, it's a problem,
Yeah.
right? And I just taught on John 9 at Bible study on Wednesday, and the Pharisees are charging Jesus up, and they're like, "Who are you? We know your mom." Basically called his mom a hoe, right there, and boy,
That's another tough one.
Hey,
right?
we ain't
The
doing
mama
that
jokes.
now.
yeah,
No mama jokes.
and Jesus is there,
And I'm Jesus. Oh, yeah. Bam.
Yeah.
But to your point, man, and unless we're willing to step into that coaching, that comfort, that correction, again, which is a man's role, all this comes down to accepting personal responsibility.
Absolutely.
All of it comes down to, because I don't care who you are. If the Holy Spirit, if Jesus, if God Himself shows up at 1147 Redstone tomorrow and knocks on the door and wants an accountability of my house,
Right.
He's not asking to see my wife.
Nah. He
That's
calling
right.
on you, player.
He's not asking to see my wife.
That's right.
Adam, where are you?
Come on.
Chris, where you at?
Yeah.
D, where you at?
Yep.
Hey, somebody bring Isaac to the door.
Yeah.
Right? I gotta have a reckoning right here.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna ask to talk to my kids.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask to talk to my wife. He's gonna talk right to me.
Yeah.
And men have to step in and assume that responsibility. And it's not an obligation.
Right.
It's a privilege.
Absolutely.
It's a privilege. We got to make marriage sexy again.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bro, I tell you what, and I've told my wife this, bro, and let me just be clear when I say this. I've been in the real estate business for a long time. And, bro, when I get paid, it is an honor to go home and make sure my wife is covered.
Come on.
Like, there is a joy in my heart that I can make sure that she's comfortable, that I can get shoes for my kids, that I could feed them, that I could take her, on a special, expensive dinner, bro. It is a joy.
Absolutely.
It's an absolute joy that I can take care of my family. It's an honor to do that, man.
That's very true.
And when them commission checks hit, baby, let's go. It's on like popcorn.
Put the nice
That's true.
dress on.
Yeah.
We in there.
But I think also too is not just seeing your wife as a partner, but as a friend
Come on.
as well. I think friendship has to be almost at the foundation of the relationship, right? And even if you didn't start off as best friends, how did you cultivate that friendship throughout your marriage, right? Because date your wife. Date night has been watered down so much these days. Date night is far more than a dinner and a movie, right? Most times when my wife and I are out on date night, we see couples on their phones, not even engaging one another, But I think date night, when you break it down at its truest form, is really about providing space for emotional intimacy to grow.
Yeah.
So the things that we do, how are we going to increase our emotional intimacy, right? And watching a movie is cool, but we're not talking.
No.
We're listening to whatever the actor or actresses are saying within the movie, right? So let's have a conversation where we can build some emotional intimacy and really grow as friends.
And for some of you young husbands listening or wannabe husbands, a little pro tip here: emotional intimacy always leads to sexual intimacy.
Come on.
It ain't the other way around.
That's right.
It ain't sexual and then the emotional builds. No. If you want the best intimacy of your life, it starts in the emotional intimacy category.
Absolutely.
It starts there.
And it works both ways.
That's right.
Right. So it's not just, let me provide this emotional safety from my wife so that I can be pleased at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Us as men need emotional safety too.
That's it.
And
That's
so
a
we
word,
so much
bro.
neglect that piece of it all. But we are emotional beings too. Our wives just express it more outwardly, if you will. So we see their emotions more clear and in our face. Men, we suppress our emotions. But I'm telling you, when we connect with our wives emotionally and we are able to express ourselves in totality so they can see all the trauma that we have suppressed and the things that we've gone through as men, when we be able to release that emotionally, we having a good time too.
Yeah.
So it ain't just for the women.
Yeah.
For us as men too.
And I got a text from my wife a couple of weeks ago. It was just a rando one-off text. Hey, honey, just wanted to thank you on behalf of the kids, how much you do for us.
Wow.
And I could have climbed. I could have Spider-Man the building.
Oh, yeah.
Fired up.
Well, I felt like Superman.
Yeah.
Probably did when you got home.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm going to tell you no. That to-do list, intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah, get in there and wash them dishes every now
Oh,
and
yeah.
then.
Come on.
Fix them around the house.
Figure out your wife's love language.
Yeah,
Is it
yeah.
acts of service? Is it one-on-one time? Is it words of affirmation?
Yeah.
Who wrote that book? Gary Chapman?
Yeah.
Gary Chapman. Yeah.
The love languages?
5 love languages.
Yeah. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a real thing. And I struggle with that. I thought for years, my wife's love language was acts of service. So I'm doing dishes. I'm mopping floors. And like I'm getting little to no response. And I'm thinking, well, she ungrateful.
Right.
Well, I'm about to throw it
killing
down.
it.
This is terrible.
Right.
So I tell her one day, I said, I don't appreciate, I've been mopping floors, doing dishes. And she's like, all I want to do is spend time with you.
That's right.
She said, I'll do the dishes. Just sit with me for 10 minutes on the couch. And I was completely misinterpreting her love language.
Absolutely.
For yours, probably.
Yeah, that's the reason why.
That's
you
it.
misinterpret
A lot of
because we
times,
love
yeah,
the way that we
That's
Right.
it,
want to
man.
love, right? Or want to be loved.
Right.
Is how we love our spouses. So that's what happened. You're probably acts of service. It's probably your love language.
100%, man.
So you were loving her the way that you want her to love you.
That's it.
That's why you wasn't seeing the thing. Same thing happened to me. I'm an acts of service guy too. And I was making breakfast in bed for my wife and, making sure she was fed and vacuuming the floors and taking out the trash. And I had the same response. One day I was like, hey, man, I don't feel like I'm receiving kind of the response I was looking for. And she told me the same thing. She said, my love language is physical touch and quality time. She said, I'd much rather you cuddle in the bed, stay in the bed for 5 more minutes and cuddle me than to go and make me an omelet in the kitchen.
Come on.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got to make sure you're talking the same language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, Dr. Isaac, we love having you on the show, bro.
Love being here.
We're going to keep it going. We're going to make this more of a regular. I know our viewers and our listeners love hearing from you. So we're going to bring you back, especially around the upcoming holidays.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
when it
man.
gets tense in the house. You
Yes.
got the in-laws. We got to bring you in to talk about in-laws.
Yes.
And so, man, just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We love having you on Better Man. And thanks for helping us be better men.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Come on, see you next time.
Appreciate you. Thanks. And fellas, this episode has been good. We thank you guys for listening in. But if there are men who are out there struggling, maybe you're having thoughts of suicide, or maybe your marriage is going through turmoil, or your children are just out of whack, we can help. Isaac has a website. It's called collinscounselingservices.com, or you can call in at 682-400-3613 for assistance.